Nanami and Yuji devise a strategy to defeat Mahito by creating openings for each other during the battle as Mahito goes all out, using his shape-shifting abilities, and the two coordinate their attacks before Mahito, wary of Yuji's strength, unleashes transfigured humans to attack him while targeting Nanami to separate them, which works as Yuji, conflicted about killing humans, keeps dodging and doesn't attack the mutated humans as Mahito corners Nanami to a wall, criticizing Yuji's hesitations, but he intervenes just in time, saving Nanami and defeating the transfigured humans. With a better understanding of Mahito's tactics, the two coordinate their attacks and start overwhelming Mahito before he can shapeshift, swiftly tearing him down before Mahito unveils his domain expansion. Self-embodiment of perfection and traps Nanami inside it as he recalls his past experiences and says he doesn't need appreciation, calmly accepting his death before Yuji suddenly breaks into the domain from the outside and Sukuna resurfaces. He remarks that he told Mahito that was the last time before slashing his right side off as he starts pouring blood. Injured, Mahito quickly transforms and escapes to the sewers, thinking of Sukuna's presence, suggesting a coming age of curses upon his full resurrection. After recovering from his injuries, Yuji meets up with Nanami, crediting Sukuna for saving him and sad with guilt over killing. He questions about guiding people to proper deaths, to which Nanami tells him that people are neither entirely good nor evil, and guiding them to proper deaths is impossible, so Yuji vows to defeat Mahito, and Nanami explains the importance of staying alive as a sorcerer to save others. Meanwhile, at Satozakura High School, countermeasures against bullying are implemented, and the other faculty members acknowledge their failure, with Junpei agreeing to expose the students who bully others. Later, Yuji meets up with Nanami and Gojo and reflects on his determination to kill Mahito and never lose again. Jobo is relaxing in a forest hot spring when Gito and Mahito, who's recovering from his fight against Nanami and Yuji, discusses their plan to get Sukuna on their side by offering him his fingers so that they can have a world controlled by curses, hearing which Gito reveals his intention to retrieve the 6 fingers from Jujutsu High to prevent anything risky around Yuji. Meanwhile, Nanami and Gojo discuss the challenging mission and Junpei's mother's death, and he decides to keep certain details from Yuji, fearing Gojo's straightforward approach before Yuji returns excitedly for when he can show the others that he's alive. Meet the second years and Kyoto students, so he creates a plan with Gojo, and later as the two teams face off against each other, Gojo merrily arrives with a cart and hands out souvenirs to the Kyoto Goodwill before opening the cart and showing off Yuji to the Tokyo team, who gloomily react upon seeing him. Later, Principal Gakugenji explains the team battle, Spirit Bash race, where the teams must exercise a grade 2 curse, so the Tokyo team goes to strategize, remarking that they have to create a new plan since they didn't know Yuji was alive, and Megumi vouches for his physical strength. Meanwhile, during the Kyoto team meeting, the principal orders the students to kill Yuji, while Gojo discusses a potential mole with Yutaheim, the Kyoto teacher. Before the event, Megumi remarks that Yuji looks like something happened and encourages him not to lose before the team heads out and enthusiastically gets ready for the team battle. As the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill event begins, Gojo and Yutaheim speak to the students before both teams head into the forest, and Yuji's team, led by Megumi and Todo, comes forward to face them, and since the plan is for Yuji to stall him, the others quickly head off. During the battle, Yuji faces him using his strength before his powerful punch sends Yuji flying before he starts kicking, but Yuji gets back up, and upon being asked of his type, Todo realizes that they have the same taste in women and experiences a memory where they're both best friends, seeing which she sheds tears before the Kyoto team suddenly corner Yuji, but Todo intervenes by using his technique to switch places with everyone in the area, saving him, after which a classmate, Noritoshi Kamo, reluctantly agrees to leave, but only if Todo kills Yuji, and he declares that he won't hold back. Meanwhile, Megumi and Maki run into Kamo and Maiwa. As they start squaring off against each other, Maki asks if they're planning to kill Yuji before another Kyoto student, Nishimiya, watching from above, is attacked by Megumi's Nu, as Panda and Nobara start mocking her as Todo and Yuji start fighting again before he stops and asks him why he relies on his divergent fist, so much to which Yuji says he refuses to stay weak, and Todo remarks that that is the correct answer. During the Goodwill event, Todo and Yuji face off against each other, with him expressing admiration for Yuji's strength since it works well for him now, but noting how it won't work against special grade curses, before telling him to channel cursed energy throughout his body at the moment of impact, emphasizing the importance of understanding oneself as a whole being. Understanding this concept, Yuji realizes this and surrounds his entire body in cursed energy. Meanwhile, Nobara and Panda taunt Nishimiya, who is stuck in a tree before Panda suddenly gets shot by ultimate Mechamaru, but slowly gets up again and faces off against Mechamaru, remarking that he's also a cursed corpse, but he tells him to not compare him with him before Panda, a unique cursed corpse with 3 cores, engages in close combat and starts quickly overwhelming Mechamaru, who's remotely controlled by a human named Kokichi Muta, who reveals his hate towards Panda for living freely in the sun while he is confined by a heavenly restriction after blasting him, but as the smoke clears, Panda transforms into gorilla mode, unveiling his special ability, the unblockable drumming beat, which swiftly defeats him after Panda catches him off guard, and as the fight ends, he offers his help to him in the future while Maiwa and Maki clash against each other. Maiwa reminisces on her earlier conversation with Mei, where she carelessly said Maki was a pathetic grade 4 sorcerer, but in reality, Maki proves to be exceptionally strong and easily dominates Maiwa, who tries to counterattack by activating her simple domain, but Maki breaks her own spear and throws it as a projectile, deactivating the domain. Meanwhile, Mei observes the battle through one of her crows and suggests that she deserves a promotion, which Gojo agrees to but says the Zenin family always intercepts her promotion and asks why the crow near Yuji hasn't been showing anything, to which she says they're tricky creatures. Gojo asks where her allegiance lies, to which she says she's on Money's side. Despite Kyoto's plans against Yuji, Gojo says dealing with him won't be so easy, while in another part of the battlefield, Nobara is fighting against a flying Nishimiya who explains the pressures on Mei as a failure of the Zenin family. But Nobara annoyingly rejects her justifications and says that misfortune doesn't justify cruelty before starting to continuously attack with the straw doll technique, Hairpin, causing the mist nails to explode with cursed energy as the chaos disrupts Nishimiya's navigation, after which Nobara quickly takes control of her broom by using straw doll technique.
Perfect.
Resonance and punching her with a rubber hammer and knocking her down before a bullet suddenly fires at her head and she collapses. Meanwhile, Maki faces off against Mai in the trees but suddenly gets caught off guard as Mai inwardly reveals that her ability is construction, but her limit is only 1 bullet per day before firing her final bullet straight at Maki, which she manages to suddenly catch in her hand and rushes forward to defeat her, after which Mai, lying against a tree, says she knows Maki has a heavenly restriction that gives her physical prowess rather than cursed energy and tells her that she should have stayed with her, to which she answers that she would have hated herself for it if she did that and apologizes before leaving, to which Mai angrily says she lied to her. Megumi faces Kamo's blood-cursed energy arrows inside a temple since his technique allows him to craft his blood into attacks, but Megumi quickly dodges the attacks before his toads intercept the remaining arrows, and he exploits Kamo's technique by breaking an arrow and revealing his blood on the wall. Kamo tells Megumi to summon more Shikigami, but his divine dog is somewhere else. Meanwhile, Maiwa remarks that she lost her sword and says she's useless before receiving a call and suddenly falling asleep as Inumeki cuts the call and pats the divine dog with him before Hanami slowly approaches him. Meanwhile, Principal Gakuganji instructs Yuji to get Maiwa, while Mahito, a man named Juzo, and a Hanami infiltrate the school. In close combat, Kamo overpowers Megumi before getting caught off guard as Megumi summons his Max Elephant to flood the corridor and throws Kamo out before electrocuting him with Nu, but they suddenly get interrupted as Hanami arrives and Toj tells them to run from its attacks as the faculty realizes that something has happened and facing off against it. Megumi recognizes Hanami from Gojo's rough drawings.
Not bad, not bad.
And Toj tells him to contact someone, so he tries to call Gojo, but Hanami shatters his phone and expresses a desire for sorcerers to die and become sages for the earth. Megumi, Inumaki, and Kamo flee and get pursued by Hanami before Inumaki uses his abilities to keep at a distance, so it attacks with wooden spears, but he commands a stop, allowing Kamo to wound Hanami using blood manipulation before they decide to escape outside and get help by using Inumeki's cursed speech, but he's weakened because of overexerting his throat, after which Kamo gets attacked, so he goes forward to face it, but Inumeki wearily steps forward and faces Hanami before ordering it to blad away as it gets smashed into the opposite wall, after which he starts vomiting blood. Maki appears in front of them and faces Hanami, raking her katana, so Megumi hands her another weapon. Playful Cloud being attacked, by which she gets slammed away. Maki and Megumi rush towards it and start attacking with Divine Dog. Totality before Hanami attacks Megumi with a Curse Bud, which will sap its cursed energy and exploits the situation, claiming Jujutsu users are vulnerable when their allies are harmed by overwhelming Maki, as well before Todo and Yuji suddenly arrive and hand Maki and Megumi to Panda, who carries them away. Todo tells Yuji to land a Black Flash, a powerful move that is much stronger than a normal curse blow, and despite initially failing because of his anger, Yuji manages to land a solid Black Flash on Hanami before facing her with Todo. As the two counter Hanami's constant attack, Todo prepares to unleash his curse technique. In 3rd grade, Todo beat up an older student and remarked that his life was boring, but things took a different turn when a tall woman had approached him and asked what his taste in women.
No! God, please, no!
As he realized that his life was going to get a lot more fun. In present day, as they launch their attack on Hanami, Todo gets caught by roots and thrown into spikes, but just before hitting them, He and Hanami suddenly swap places as he activates Hick Curse technique.
Good job!
After which Hanami gets stabbed by the spikes and Todo and Yuji continue their attacks, relentlessly showering blows on her and catching her off guard as Todo swiftly uses Boogie Woogie to swap positions with Yuji, creating an unstoppable onslaught as Yuji lands 4 consecutive black flash strikes and significantly weakens Hanami as Todo says they'll end it before she gets used to their attack, but suddenly uses Boogie Woogie to protect Yuji from cursed buds which are now being fired towards him before suddenly getting transported to Takada as they discuss how the cursed buds work and realize what they need to do, after which he deactivates his cursed energy and deflects the buds off of his body before cornering Hanami toward the river, where Todo swaps Yuji for Playful Cloud, which was lying there, and attacks Hanami with it. But as she gets ready to Hanami use domain expansion, the barrier around the area suddenly gets destroyed as they see Gojo hovering in the air. Meanwhile, Gakubanji confronts Juzo while Yudheim, Nobara, and Mei deal with another man, and Todo stops Yuji from attacking Hanami, realizing what's happening as Gojo unleashes Hollow Technique, Purple, and demolishes an entire area. Meanwhile, Mahito successfully completes his mission by retrieving the cursed objects and Sukuna's finger. The man, Haruta Shigemo, remarks that he wasn't able to contribute during the attack before Hanami slowly steps forward, half dead, and he contemplates killing her, but is stopped by Mahito. In a flashback, Guido briefs Mahito, Hanami, and Jogo on the barrier around Jujutsu High and their mission to steal cursed objects, and in present day, Mahito and Hanami discuss suppressing their killing intent, with Mahito noting Hanami's transformation into a true cursed spirit. At Tokyo Jujutsu High, Aijiki reports Mahito's involvement in the casualties and the fact that some cursed objects were stolen, hearing which the higher-ups decide to keep this information from the students, as Gojo explains how Mahito exploited the barrier using the special grade cursed spirit fought by the students, so the principals consider canceling the Goodwill event, but Gojo remarks that it's not their decision. Meanwhile, in the healing ward, Yuji and Nobara visit Megumi and are eating pizza before Todo suddenly appears, acknowledging the bond between Yuji and Megumi before Yuji hurriedly runs away.
Ha! Gay!
The next day, Gojo discusses whether to continue the Goodwill event, and they decide to draw lots to decide the next activity, after which Yuji randomly selects baseball as the team event, surprising everyone. As the baseball game begins, the Tokyo team accuses Todo of cheating, and Maki strikes him out by throwing the ball at his face. Yuji despairingly realizes that everyone hates Todo before the game concludes with Yuji hitting a home run, securing Tokyo's victory in the 30th annual Kyoto Goodwill event. A man arrives home to discover his apartment door open and calls the building manager, but unknowingly attracts a dangerous cursed spirit, which swiftly attacks him as his information is added to Tokyo Jujutsu High's records. Akari Nida, the manager of Jujutsu High, drives Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji to their mission and explains that there's a connection between the victims on the way, which is the fact that they all attended the same junior high school for 2 years, suggesting a curses of Megumi questions the consistency of the incidents, noting differences in the dates and locations before they attend a funeral, and Nida learns that another victim suffered a similar fate, so the trio investigates Satama Grammy East Junior High, where Nobara spots some punks and says they should question them before a janitor recognizes Megumi, and Yuji and Nobara learn that he attended this school and that he defeated a lot of bullies at once. Next, they head to the Yasuhachi Bridge, a paranormal spot famously connected to suicides. Meanwhile, Mahito and Guido discuss the death painting Wum's special grade cursed objects that manifest in humans, and he forcefully transforms a person into a cursed spirit using one of the objects. Meanwhile, the investigation at Yasuhachi Bridge reveals no traces of the curse, and a punk, Megumi's old classmate, reports his sister's suspicious incidents, revealing a connection to Sumiki, Megumi's sister, hearing which he decides to face the danger alone. Later, Megumi returns to the bridge at night, and Yuji and Nobara appear behind him, telling him to trust them before they cross the barrier into the curse's domain and run into a mole-like spirit and a cursed Wom. Death painting manifestation, so Yuji confronts the cursed Wom while Megumi and Nobara handle the curse in the domain. In the domain, Yuji faces the cursed Wom, Kechizu alone, dodging his blood attacks and sending him flying with a powerful kick while still avoiding the acid-like course of attacks and landing multiple punches before Kechizu manages to catch Yuji. Meanwhile, Nobara and Megumi deal with the mole-like cursed spirit, using resonance and Megumi's black sword as the spirit retreats into its hole, seeing which Megumi realizes that the curse's expanded technique, the barrier, and the victims are draining its main body before something suddenly teleports Nobara outside through a portal. Outside the domain, Nobara fights a man named Iso and claims that they share the same goal of retrieving Sukuna's finger. Inside the domain, Megumi swiftly defeats the mole-like curse with his divine dog before a special grade cursed spirit suddenly suddenly appears, resembling the one from the detention center, and starts fighting Megumi before he recalls how Gojo had said Megumi never gave his all and activates domain expansion. Chamura's Shadow Garden relentlessly unleashing his shadows on the Sprit before finally defeating it with Divine Dog's claws and deactivating the domain, after which he wearily contemplates telling Yuji that the cursed spirit contained a finger before falling asleep. Meanwhile, Hiso senses Sukuna's finger and moves away from Nobara before Yuji and Kekizu suddenly appear behind them, seeing which he becomes furious before Nobara swiftly strikes his head with her hammer, to which he retaliates with Rot Technique, Maximum, Wind King. Yuji and Nobara confront Kekizu and Iso, dodging Iso's deadly Maximum, before Kekizu surprises Yuji with corrosive blood, but Yuji shields Nobara from it before a flashback reveals the gruesome origin of the death painting Wums, created through experiments by a man named Noritoshi Kamo. In present day, Nobara cleverly uses straw doll technique, resonance, to turn the curse against the two brothers by stabbing herself with her nails, but Iso exposes their blood absorption ability and remarks that there isn't much time before the two lose to the poison before Yuji and Nobara take each of the brothers and utilize their moves to attack them at once before Kekizu pounces on Nobara from behind, but she reveals her ability. Hairpin and completely destroys it. As the death paintings are defeated, Choso angrily senses it and says his brothers have died as Nida searches for the three, and later Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi reunite before Yuji takes the finger to report it to the teachers, but Sukuna suddenly comes out and swallows it. Later, Gojo boasts about his students' success and sends Mai Mai a large sum as she and Todo suggest the Tokyo students for the rank of first grades, and the trio gets ready to head out.